Disney Plus Star Wars The Acolyte First Impressions. Spoiler alert, I hope it gets better. What's going on, y'all? This is Alexander, and you are plugged into the Nerd Companion. All right, what's going on? This is Alexander, your host of the Nerd Companion. Today we're going to be going over Disney Plus's new show, Star Wars The Acolyte. I will be going over maybe tiny spoilers, but it's really just to kind of go over the synopsis of the first two episodes. I will admit after, or I guess the time of this recording, the third episode has released. I just haven't got time to watch it. I'm just doing a first impressions episode based off the two original episodes that they released. And I will be coming back around after I complete the show to do a full season review. If anybody's listening that wants to co-host with me to kind of go over this show, message me on Instagram, follow the Instagram page, The Nerd Companion, and message me on there if you're interested in doing, co-hosting this episode with me of The Acolyte. Whether you like it or you don't like it, it doesn't matter. If you just want to talk about it, let me know. We can do the episode. But let's get into it. The first scene opens up and it's revolved around a murder of a Jedi Master in what looks to be a tavern or a hearth. And there's a pretty cool fight scene in there, but ends up basically resulting in the Jedi Master's death. And we see that the assailant is an assassin who is revealed that there might be some history between the assassin and the Jedi Master that she has murdered. And the following scene, we see that the same character is waking up. Kind of gave me an impression that she was having a dream, like a flashback, or maybe it was a little bit of foreshadowing for something that, a crime that she might commit in the future. But not long after, a couple Jedi from the council boards the ship and is looking for her, and she is obviously a person of interest in this murder. But it looks at first glance that this girl has been on, I should say her name Osha. It just looks as though that Osha has been on this ship as a mechanic that helps fix things on the ship to kind of keep it going as it embarks on its voyages. And it looks like she's been doing this for years, so it already kind of doesn't make sense. It looks like it's kind of like a crime mystery kind of show, which I'm totally into. I like the idea of a crime mystery kind of thriller kind of take on Star Wars. From this point, she is basically taken as a captive to go back to report to the Jedi Council and have her explain her innocence as to why she would not be the one to have committed this murder. You're revealed in another scene that potentially she might have a twin. And I think this is the big plot twist for the first two episodes. And that's basically kind of the premise of the show, is that she's trying to prove her innocence, which is hard to do if you have a twin and people are basically finding that you are committing these crimes because of what you look like, and you have a twin that's out there kind of doing these mischievous things. In this case, insidious things, killing people and murdering people. She's then taken onto the Jedi ship, where she is now a prisoner to go to Coruscant, where the Jedi Council at this time resides. And the other prisoners basically are able to gather together and mutinize against the robot pilots and basically use the escape pods to safety. And she is given a choice whether to really help this person who looks like they're subdued, but she doesn't want the ship to crash and leave this guy behind. And there is a show of her good character, which shows the viewers that she really is a good person. But, she obviously is dealing with these demons inside her that has basically caused her to leave the council to begin with, because she was a student under a Jedi master that we see in later on the show, who is actually teaching students. But she basically helps this guy. He flips out. uses the last escape pod, and she crashes onto this snowy planet where she then basically has this force sensitivity connection with her sister that is also displayed in many other movies. We see that in the new Star Wars movies between Rey and Kylo Ren. They have this force connection, and it's shown here in the show that she has this force connection with her sister. And it's at this moment she realizes that her sister may still be alive and is probably the culprit to these murders. So, long story short, the Jedi Master recruits a young Jedi Knight who had approached her on the transport ship and another student, Padawan, to basically find her and prove her innocence because this teacher, has some sort of attachment, whether that's good or bad, basically trying to prove her innocence as well. So that's kind of the story at this point, is basically trying to prove her innocence. So she ends up getting taken by the Jedi Master, and I guess they go on this quest to prove her innocence, essentially. Episode 2, you're starting to see the story develop, and you're starting to see the twin basically attempt to kill another master. I should say that Master Soul is with Osha, and Master Soul is basically trying to prove Osha's innocence. And then we see the bad twin again commit a murder. So logic would say that if this other murder takes place while they have her eyes on Osha, then it should prove her innocence. But they've got to be able to prove this to the Jedi Council, and it just seems like a whole mess. And it seems like it might get brought up that Master Soul may have a conflict of interest, in trying to protect her, but which gets into all sorts of plot holes I can see happening in the show that, if they thought that Master Soul would have a hard time differentiating fact and separating that from his emotional attachment, which he probably shouldn't have as a Jedi Master. It seems like it might be a conflict of interest anyway, and he seems too close to the case, so I don't know why they would send him to begin with. So it just seems kind of like a weird thing, but I understand for the story, sake that they're sending him to do it, because who not better to send to prove someone innocent than someone who cares deeply for the person who's being accused, which is Osha. So May, the evil twin, I'm just going to say evil twin at this point. Just because she's the one, committing the crimes. I don't know if she's necessarily evil. I'm sure that there is a dark Jedi somewhere manipulating her, which we do see at the end of the first episode. It looks like it's only a teaser just to kind of give us the lightsaber ignition, and then it rolls the credits, kind of like a cool little ending, which is exactly what I'd like to see in Star Wars, is dark Jedi and just really dark evil enemies. That's what made me fall in love with Star Wars to begin with. So seeing that kind of like sparked some interest. But to be honest with you, the first episode was okay. I don't really anticipate too much love for any first episode for any show, because I understand that they're just kind of laying the framework. So I kind of went into the first episode knowing that. So I'm trying to be generous here. So at the end of that, I was like, cool. We see the dark Jedi. I was very excited. Beginning of the second episode, we're seeing May, going and trying to harm another Jedi. And we learned that these Jedi that May is after has some sort of connection to something that happened to the twins' planet. And it seems to be that the Jedi she's killing has a connection to what caused the destruction there. And so we're seeing kind of what that looks like after the people that are affected and how they grow up and how they hold on to grudges, which is interesting because it's kind of relatable to real world problems, you know what I mean? In regards to military engagement in foreign countries and how we act in those countries when we say we're trying to help them, but then we have collateral damage, and the people that survive that, deal with that collateral damage end up, begrudgingly dislike the military who was there to save them, right? And so we start to see a generational hate that's kind of, predicated on the fact that if the military that was there to help them wasn't there, then maybe they would have, their family around after all this collateral damage has taken place. So we see that in, real world situations. This is kind of a theme that they put into the show, which is something that I like. We find that she's basically hunting down the 4 Jedi who might be responsible for the destruction of her village or planet. I'm not sure. It's not fully revealed yet. And that there might be a dark Jedi using these emotions to basically, set a plan in place for some reason, which we don't know at this point. And I'm sure will unfold as the season goes on. In the second episode, they basically come up with a plan to capture May. They fail to do so, and it's made aware to the company that is having Osha under prisoner captive status. They see that she is actually innocent, and now it's their objective to catch May, bring her to the Jedi Council for her to pay for her crimes to clear Osha's name. Okay, so here comes the opinion part. Things that I do like. I like a lot of the fighting scenes. They remind me of a lot of like old school kung fu movies. Heavily, if you watch the Matrix movies, how they have choreographed the martial arts to very specific sequences are very, very cool. I like it a lot. With that being said, that is something that I don't like at the same time. It's a double-edged sword for me because although the it's really good. However, I love Star Wars for the fact of the Jedi fighting with lightsabers and the use of Force. And I don't get that. You know what I mean? I don't get that, at least in the first 2 episodes. I know there's more episodes to come before the season wraps up. However, I don't feel like I'm getting my Jedi fix, even though the show is, looking at the Jedi. And I know someone's probably listening like, dude, get over it. It's just a different approach. I get it. I know. I admire the choreographed martial arts scenes. I think it's really cool. I just want to see a little bit more lightsaber stuff. Things that I don't like, the thing that gets me the most is the acting of the actresses and the actors. They aren't compelling enough for me to believe or feel the emotions that I feel they're trying to convey to me as a viewer. It seems as though there are moments when the acting is not enough or they're overacting, and I don't find that they're finding a good balance between, and I have a hard time engaging into the emotions I'm supposed to be in sync with. And so I feel like I'm kind of watching like a C-list iteration of Star Wars, which is kind of disappointing because when this show was first talked about, The Acolyte, it was focused around Jedi, which was something that I wanted to see more of in the Star Wars shows that I was actually really excited about. I just don't feel like I am believing what I'm supposed to be feeling because the acting isn't that good. Another thing I do like about the show, though, I'm trying to do the positive, negative, positive sandwich here, that they are focusing on a timeline that has nothing to do with the Skywalker saga or that timeline. I'm glad that they're taking a new approach in a new area of the timeline that has nothing to do with the movie universe, which is something I'm super excited about. I absolutely love it. Some of my favorite stories in the Star Wars extended universe takes place long before the movies took place. And I think that, this focus on the past is something that I find as a positive note. So I know that the story is not over. There's still much more to go. These are only my first impressions, and these are only, my opinions, and take that with a grain of salt. I think the show is definitely worth the watch. I'm going to finish the show, and then I probably will do a full, analysis of the show at that time. If anybody wants to co-host the show with me that's listening to this, just send me a message on Instagram. You can follow that at _nerd_companion. Send me a message on there saying that you're interested in doing the show. Just let me know, and then we can, work something out. We can co-host it. You don't have to like the show to do it. You can love the show and want to do it, and we can talk about it, laugh, have a good time, make jokes. Final score for the first 2 episodes, I'm going to give it a 5.5. It's okay. It doesn't really have me compelled to really want to watch it. I'm going to watch it because it's Star Wars, but I don't necessarily feel very strongly about it. I know there's probably Star Wars fans out there probably screaming listening to this, but please, leave me a message about what you think on Instagram. Just let me know. I'm going to continue to watch the show, release the episode, and hopefully around next month. So I'll give people some time to watch it and message me to see if they want to co-host the show with me. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope it was fun. Probably more fun than the show actually was. No, I'm just kidding. It's okay. I'm going to continue to watch it. But anyways, thank you. Have a good one.